Why the Cincinnati Bengals will win the Super Bowl in 2019. Make sure to stay tuned to find out why. What's up, everybody? It's JT Sports and back to you guys with another video. In this video, I'll continue my series talking about why all 32 NFL teams will win the Super Bowl in 2019. In this video, I'm going to be talking about why the Cincinnati Bengals will win the Super Bowl in 2019. Now, before I begin, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Upload NFL videos and NFL content daily. Now, the Cincinnati Bengals finally got rid of Marvin Lewis, who should have been fired years ago. And when I mean years ago, maybe a decade ago or something like that. So they got a new head coach in Zac Taylor, offensive-minded coach. And listen, I know the Cincinnati Bengals, they lost a couple of their offensive linemen, but other than that, this team has a lot of talent on the offensive side of the ball. And Zac Taylor, being an offensive-minded coach, if you're labeled an offensive-minded coach or offensive-minded guru coming from that Sean McVay coaching tree, I expect you to be able to get the most out of Andy Dalton and all the players that you have around him. Because, listen, I know I think a lot of people are giving Andy Dalton a little bit more heat than what he really deserves. He's not one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. He's a pretty okay quarterback. You can win the Super Bowl with Andy Dalton. I mean, Andy Dalton was putting up very good numbers. He was on the verge of setting career highs in a lot of categories this season before he started getting injured. And also the Cincinnati Bengals started getting banged up on both sides of the ball, so that affected him as well. But Andy Dalton, when you look at his stats last year, he was on the verge of having a pretty solid season last year for the Cincinnati Bengals. And with Zac Taylor should be able to elevate Andy Dalton since he's an offensive-minded coach. Anytime you're an offensive-minded coach, you should be able to elevate the players that you have around them. That's why you're called an offensive-minded coach. You're supposed to be able to have a very good offense with the players that you have around them. And if Sean McVay was a very innovative coach and Zac Taylor was the quarterback's coach there, I think he's going to learn a couple of things from Sean McVay, also implementing his own system and things like that. And I think the Cincinnati Bengals offense with Andy Dalton is going to be pretty good. First, got to look at the wide receiving core now. AJ Green, he's going to be missing a few games this season, but it had Tyler Boyd there. I thought Tyler Boyd was the most improved player last season. I mean, he had over 1,000 yards. I thought he was a snub, not only for the Pro Bowl. I most definitely thought he should have went to the Pro Bowl last season because of how good that he was. And also, he didn't even make the NFL Top 100 last season or this year, which is outrageous because look how good he was. And a lot of people are saying that Tyler Boyd isn't really all that because he just got like a new extension. But Tyler Boyd was putting up good numbers even when AJ Green was playing. So imagine how good the Cincinnati Bengals are going to be passing the football once AJ Green comes back fully healthy. Then you got John Ross there. Now, Sean McVay, he wasn't able to really make things work with Tavon Austin, so it's going to be interesting to see if Zac Taylor can make things work with John Ross. I think John Ross is very fast, has a lot of potential as well, so it's going to be interesting seeing if he's going to be able to make something out of John Ross, who basically needs to do something if he wants to hope to stay in the NFL and continue his NFL playing career for the next couple of seasons. Then we got to look at the halfback unit. I mean, you got Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon was phenomenal last season. You got Giovanni Bernard. He's a pretty solid backup. And Travion Williams as well. Travion Williams was probably the biggest sleeper by a lot of draft experts, including myself, going into this year's NFL draft out of Texas A&M. So I suppose that Zac Taylor has a way to get all three of those halfbacks involved in the game. And they also have some other guys. You got Rodney Anderson back there as well. Rodney Anderson, it reminds me a lot of Derek McFadden. He's tall, he's fast, he's elusive, he's strong. He can run through you, he can blow past you. This guy, Rodney Anderson, is going to be another guy to look out for this season. And this Bengals team, they have some talent on the offensive side of the ball at the skill position. Then we got to look at the offensive line. I mean, yeah, the offensive line might not be the best, but I think the offensive line could be good enough to get them to the Super Bowl. You got guys like Cody Glenn, who is pretty solid, and you got center Billy Price, who is a pretty solid center in the NFL. So this Cincinnati Bengals offense, although they're battling a couple of injuries, having an offensive-minded coach like Zach Taylor, he should be able to work with the players that he has around him, build around Andy Dalton and his strengths and weaknesses, and put Andy Dalton into a situation to succeed, call some good plays, good play calling as well, and you're also going to have Joe Mixon there to be that workhorse back for you whenever you need to run the football as well, and you also got a very talented group of halfbacks behind Joe Mixon as well. So this Cincinnati Bengals team has a lot of talent on the offensive side of the ball, especially when A.J. Green comes back from his injury. You also got Tyler Eifert, who is a little bit of a wild card. He's a pretty good tight end when he's able to stay healthy. So then we got to go to the defensive side of the ball. When we look at this defensive line is pretty solid. I mean, you got defensive end Carlos Dunlap. Carlos Dunlap has probably been one of the most underrated defensive ends in all of football for the last couple of seasons. You got Jordan Willis. You got Sam Hubbard. Sam Hubbard was a guy who last season had a very good 2018 campaign, considering a guy who didn't really get that much snaps till near the end of the season. So now you're going to have him on the opposite side of Cam Hubbard, and I think Sam Hubbard is a guy who can end up having 9.5 sacks this year for the Cincinnati Bengals defense. Then you got to look at Geno Atkins, one of the best interior defensive linemen that we have in the game right now, one of the most premier defensive tackles in the NFL. Now the linebacking unit, it should be improved compared to how they were last season. Last season they were not that good. In this year's NFL draft, you got Jermaine Pratt. Now Jermaine Pratt, this is a guy who's very good in coverage. He started out on NC State as a safety. Then they made him gain some weight, and they moved him to linebacker. So he's very good in coverage, very good in open space coverage in the halfbacks and tight ends as well. So he should boost that linebacking core tremendously for the Cincinnati Bengals. Then you got Preston Brown. Preston Brown is capable of playing way better than how he did in 2018. We're just going to say that he had a bad year, and hopefully he's going to be able to rebound from that 2018 campaign. Then we got to look at the cornerback position. Pro Football Focus said that the Cincinnati Bengals have one of the top 10 units in the NFL when it comes to their secondary. You got cornerback Drake Kirkpatrick, who is pretty solid. You got William Jackson, who is also pretty good as well. You got Jaquez Denard, who is also pretty good. Now, to take the position, you got Sean Williams and my guy, Jesse Bates, who is one of my favorite safeties in the NFL and had a very solid rookie year last year. So I think that this Cincinnati Bengals defense, a large part of why their season kind of got derailed was because of injuries, specifically on the defense side of the ball. They lost a lot of starters on the defense side of the ball, and they basically had a lot of backups playing in the secondary. So now that they're going to be fully healthy, I think this defense might be a lot better than what people are giving them credit for. And I think that this defense could end up being a middle-of-the-pack defense, which is going to be pretty, I think that would be pretty good enough to help them get to the Super Bowl. Let's not also forget that they have a very good group of cornerbacks and also a very good defensive line. And whenever you have a very good defensive line, that's going to make it easier for the cornerbacks when it goes to them coveraging these good wide receivers, because they're not going to have to stay in coverage that long. So the Cincinnati Bengals team, they have talent. Don't get it fooled. The offensive line might be a little bit of a work in progress, but with Zach Taylor being the offensive-minded coach that he is, he should be able to game plan around that, get the ball out of Andy Dalton's hands quicker, and he should also make Andy Dalton a better quarterback, because Andy Dalton last season, a lot of people give him a lot of flack, but Andy Dalton last season was on the verge of setting career highs and passing touchdowns and things like that before he was suffering that injury. So he was having a pretty good season last year in 2018 before the injuries happened. And then when A.J. Green comes back, that wide receiving core should be something to watch. Will Tyler Boyd on the other side. So overall, this Cincinnati team can legitimately win the Super Bowl. It all depends on how good Zach Taylor is going to be in his first year as a head coach. And we have seen how much success these first-year head coaches have had the last couple of seasons. When we look at how successful Sean McVay was his first year coaching the Los Angeles Rams, and Matt Nagy recently with the Chicago Bears, what he was able to do with Mitch Trubisky. he turned around with Trubisky. So Zach Taylor should be a guy who should be able to get the most out of Andy Dalton this season. And Andy Dalton is looking for a contract extension or something like that. So he's also trying to prove something as well. So this Cincinnati Bengals team, yeah, they're missing a little bit of talent on the offensive line, but I still think with Zach Taylor being an offensive-minded coach, he should be able to game plan around that and put this offense in situations to succeed. Then we look at the defense. This defense should be pretty good. Like I said earlier, this secondary was graded out by Pro Football Focus as a top 10 secondary, believe it or not. And when they're able to stay healthy, they can do a lot of damage. William Jackson is very solid. He's a pretty solid young cornerback. Draco Patrick, he's not too shabby. And Chris Denard as well. And also you got one of the best young safeties in the game, and Jesse Bates. So this is my reasons why I think the Cincinnati Bengals will win the Super Bowl in 2019. So let me know what you guys think about it down in the comment section down below. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more NFL videos and content. And thanks for watching.